Hello and welcome to Internet Roundup. I'm Chuck. This is our beat reporter, Josh. We are the crack team behind Internet Roundup. Casey is right over there, our director. And we're stuff you should know, mainly, but a little bit Internet Roundup.
Right.
We're 98% stuff you should know, 2% Internet Roundup.
Huh.
By volume.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
Hey, look at how big my hand looks with this lens when you get it close. It's kind of awesome.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Have
I
you
look
been,
like I could manhandle a basketball. You'll have to see it after it's produced and put on the internet.
All right. I'll check it out. Maybe we could just have that running on a loop there. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
All right. So, Josh, let's start out with this thing you sent from CNN, Cable News Network.
Oh, this is so cool, man.
Breathtaking ruins of the Soviet space shuttle program. This is amazing. I know you like abandoned things and photos of abandoned places, and
Yeah.
doesn't get much better than an abandoned space shuttle program.
No, this guy an urban explorer wandered into an old, basically a space complex in Kazakhstan, an old Soviet space complex. And of course, they still use Kazakhstan to shoot off rockets and deliver astronauts to the International Space Station and all that.
Mhm.
But this is a disused, abandoned complex. And the guy found a space shuttle inside. A space shuttle, a rocket, just everything you can possibly imagine. It was maybe the greatest treasure trove of abandoned sites ever.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, roller coasters, sure, they're neat
Very
when
neat.
they're abandoned,
Yeah.
but
Old hotels in Detroit, very cool.
not bad.
But a space shuttle.
You know what they say, Josh, in Soviet Russia, space shuttle blasts you off.
Who says that?
Yakov Smirnoff every night in Branson, Missouri.
Oh, I'm sure.
and twice on Sundays.
I'm sure more than that.
So one thing I noticed is that their space shuttle, I think, is a little cooler looking than ours.
You think so?
Yeah, ours. This one has a longer nose, if you can see right there,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think that makes it look a little cooler. Ours is
Man,
a little stubbier.
I think ours is. It's just so iconic to me. It
Yeah.
just reminds me of like the '80s and
Yeah.
that kind of optimism and everything. Like we had a shuttle that could go back and forth in space.
Yep.
I liked ours more, but this is pretty cool. If you'll scroll through, Chuck,
Yes.
there's a picture of the cockpit, right? There's
Yeah.
two pictures. There's one from where you're seeing the front dash.
Uh-huh.
Then the next picture is like a side view. They have a heart-shaped key that they use. Do you see it in the middle of that picture?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that cute? The Soviets had just so many great flourishes to their space program, like heart-shaped keys.
Pretty neat.
Just to let you know that Mother Russia loves you, cosmonaut. That's what that was for.
Yeah, just a little taste of home. That and the copious amounts of vodka on board. So go check that out on CNN
Yeah.
under the headline that I spoke of. Breathtaking ruins of the Soviet space shuttle program.
It's amazing.
Pretty neat. Cold War relics. Online for everyone to see.
Yeah.
All right.
And we should say also the name of the photographer,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Ralph Mirabs. He was great.
If you would have said Yakov Smirnoff.
It would have been wonderful.
All right, here's an article I found that I thought was pretty interesting. If you work in a big building, one thing that is going to surely happen in the summertime is you're going to find some of the women in the office complaining that it's too cold,
Mm-hmm.
and sweaty monsters like me saying it's too hot. And
Yeah.
I've always kind of wondered, like, who figures out the temperature in a building, and how do they do that?
Guys like my dad, who is a mechanical engineer specializing in HVAC for decades.
Oh, so this hits home.
It does. It hits so far home.
Well, what they do is there's something called the predicted mean vote, the PMV, and that is an equation that estimates whether or not a large group of folks will vote. Basically, is it too hot, too cold, or just right? And what they want, it's a standard from -3 to 3.0. What they want is somewhere between -0.5 and 0.5. But there's a problem with that calculation.
Well, what they use to calculate it, right?
It's outdated and sexist, as it turns out.
It is at least part of it. And part of coming up with the PMV is, how much your HVAC system will leak, how much sun exposure the building has. There's a lot of different variables. But the one that you speak of that's sexist and outdated is the human metabolic rate that they take into account for accounting for what would be a comfortable temperature. And the human metabolic rate that they use is based on a 70 kilogram, 40-year-old male.
Let's say 154 pounds.
Like, how outdated is that they're still using kilograms, not even pounds?
Yeah, the resting metabolic rate of a 154-pound, 40-year-old dude.
Right. Here's the thing. This article in Ars Technica, it's where we got this. It says this isn't taking into account the much smaller, like women who are, say, in their early 20s entering the workforce that are forced to bring a sweater in because it's too cold.
Yeah.
To me, the average 40-year-old male is not 154 pounds any longer.
No.
I would think that the temperature, the predicted mean vote temperature would need to go down. Like, if it's 70 now, or if it was 70 back in the 60s, it'd have to be like 68 or something now.
Yeah.
This article's arguing the opposite.
Yeah.
Which I don't get.
I don't get that either, honestly.
Well, good. I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah, it is weird. But they did do a little experiment to find out how far off this was. And the problem is they did it... they didn't use enough people. It was a pretty lame experiment.
I know, and it was a real experiment in Nature Climate Change, which is a journal. It was carried out by Boris Kingma, great name, even better name, Wouter von Marken-Lichtenbelt. Love that dude's name. I practiced that guy's name because he deserves that sort of honor. But they did a very small experiment with 16 women to basically find out, whether they thought a PMV temperature, the average PMV temperature was too
You couldn't
cold.
get 4 more women, make it an even 20?
Or some men, or it was just a weird thing. But what they found was that, understandably, tiny women get cold in what the average building temperature would be based on that metabolic rate. So I agree that we would need to update that since it's from the 60s, but I would be surprised if we need to make it so that it's warmer. I would think everybody would be hot if we made the average temperature warmer.
Agreed.
Weird stuff.
Very weird. I posted an interesting article on our Facebook page the other day, by the way, that was about how there are 6,000 government buildings in the country, temperature controlled by these 2 guys.
Wow, really?
They're in charge of that.
And they're just like, Mwah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I don't know. I just never thought. Your dad would probably be like, tell me something I don't know.
Yeah, right. He's like, I own those guys.
Yeah.
They do what I say. That's my dad.
All right, so that's been Internet Roundup this week, hitting home in the Clark household and hopefully hitting home in your hearts all over the world. We'll see you next week.